Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Nix, and are you ready to ramble? But here they are, typical ANC, putting their nose in everything that doesn't actually concern them, legislating the absolute boop out of everyone. But yup, their house is dirty. In fact, their house is so dirty, it's falling apart. Their house looks like a building in the middle of Joburg. Whoop whoop, they announced a 0.8% GDP growth for quarter two. And I mean, this is built on a budget forecast of 3% growth. There was a very slight mention just the other day that Enoch might be adjusting this, but I'm not sure if he's gotten around to that yet. And I say that because he's probably got more important issues at hand, like covering up all the looting that's currently taking place. But serious business, 0.8% growth. And something to keep in mind is that 0.8% growth doesn't include all the recent factory closures. That, I suspect, will show up in next quarter's results. So here's the lowdown on the ANC celebrating the bare minimum while industries and people suffer. An article published in the IOL today has Paul Maritz, director of the Free South Africa campaign, dismissing the upbeat interpretation. Yes, that's why I say the ANC celebrate the bare minimum. Paul says, there's no reason for celebration or optimism. A growth rate of 0.8 in a country where the population is growing faster than that, yes, means we are effectively going backwards. Thank you, Paul. I agree. He highlighted the country's over-reliance on legacy industries and its failure to embrace innovation technology and artificial intelligence. Yes. And the ANC just yesterday published a whole youth jobs employment, what was, bright pink. I'm like, oh, why? Why bright pink? Women's Day was last month. But again, doing technical skills. Even though Cyril took a gazillion million rand investment from Microsoft, in March this year? And here we go, relying on legacy industries. Cool. He says we are not in a healthy economic environment. It's not a good place to start a business, and certainly doesn't offer much hope for young people. That's why our youth unemployment remains alarmingly high, and many businesses struggle to survive. And this is happening in a time where we have permanent electricity, like touch wood, guys. But imagine if we were going through severe load shedding right now as well. You can't have both. Nope, one or the other. This should be a wake-up call to the government. Celebrating 0.8% growth is delusional when the structural issues undermining our economy remains unaddressed. Well, no, it has been addressed. It was just very quickly shut down by the president of the ANC, because for sure he's not the president of South Africa. But he was like, we're not discussing BEE. I am getting too rich from it. Therefore, we shall not abolish BEE. So, yeah, it's been addressed. The answer was no. Paul added that the relative success of mining and agriculture come more from geographical luck and effective governance. I also think mining and agriculture is everybody buying stuff before A, sanctions, B, the tariffs hit. Hashtag just saying, think about it, let me know what you think, drop a comment. Paul says, we need an enabling environment for entrepreneurs, innovation, and growth from the ground up. That requires the government to step aside where it obstructs progress. And really, here's the very red, massive, glistening cherry on this very delicious cupcake. South Africa requires deregulation to enable business, infrastructure investment, and development. And the government needs to do the basics, like water, electricity, and safety rights, says Paul. I mean, oh, the sun is shining, the people are speaking. I really want to read that again. I love this. South Africa requires deregulation to enable business, infrastructure investment, and development. Government needs to do the basics like water, electricity, and safety rights. You really need to think about a government or a country like a building. And the government is the foundation. The government says, your taxes enable us to provide an environment where you will thrive, okay? Which means their focus should be water, electricity, health and safety, and education. Please, winner, Cyril, please, winner. I plead. But here they are, typical ANC, putting their nose in everything that doesn't actually concern them, legislating the absolute boop out of everyone. But yuck, their house is dirty. In fact, their house is so dirty, it's falling apart. Their house looks like a building in the middle of Joburg. Yeah, but they keep turning around and pointing fingers at all of us. I mean, back off already and sort your poop out so that we can continue to live a fantastic life in a fantastic country. So the GDP announcement comes from Stats SA. I just want to run through the graphs that they published. But mining and quarrying, 3.7% for Q2. But I'm suspicious. I honestly believe people were buying this before sanctions and as well as before tariffs, the USA tariffs. Agriculture and forestry, 2.5%. But again, John Steenhuisen, he has been doing a good job in terms of that sector. Also, I think it has to do with the tariffs. People are buying their stuff now while it's cheaper. And yeah, down, construction, of course, transport, storage, and communication. I have no idea what that's about, though. So interesting for me was the expenditure on GDP. Household consumption, government consumption are the only two that went up. They also didn't even hit 1%. I mean, dismal written on a graph, right? I love Stat SA's choice of words. They're like consumer activity was upbeat. Upbeat, my friend, is 3%. Upbeat is a 10% unemployment rate. But you know, whatever. You do you, boo. And then how they downplay agriculture in their reporting. But listen, because it's actually really good. Agriculture carried over some of its positive momentum. Just some, recording a third consecutive increase. So hold on, just some, but it also incurred a third consecutive increase. The industry grew by 2.5%, followed by a revised 18.6% rise in the first quarter. You don't say, Stats SA, but none of the comms mentions this. 18.6% rise in the first quarter. Not a single industry has performed like that. 18. I mean, imagine our economy is growing at 18%. What would we do with ourselves? We'd need to import people to help us. We would run out of people. We would have a 0% unemployment rate. Viva ANC. If you look at how excited the ANC get about this sort of economic growth, then it makes it a little bit more understandable why Cyril constantly acts shocked when he sees the dismal fate of our country. Because clearly, the very bare minimum is good enough for the ANC. Or as I like to say, the ANV, add no value. And seeing this and yesterday's video, if you haven't watched it yet, absolutely breaks my heart to see my country like this. So there's two ways to solve this problem. Is we need to get Treasury and trade out of the ANC's hands. And I guess that's up to the very silent GNU at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of us podcasters start talking about, I'm not hearing a lot in terms of holding these cray-cray people as, accountable. So let's not, put too much pressure on them and ask them to try and get some handle of trade, international diplomacy, and treasury. The second way, which puts the power back into our hands, is to make sure that we're registered for next year's local elections, to educate each other about the power of a vote, and then to vote differently. I mean, imagine us do all of this and then we all go vote ANC again. Listen, if that happens, I'm leaving South Africa. It's not happening. I will not. I love my country to death, but that would be the death of me. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave my ramble here. I hope you enjoyed this time with me. I hope you found this insightful. If you did, subscribe, like, and share. The support means the world to me. Loving all the comments, guys. Seriously, it's a great way to start my day, reading all of your comments. Other than that, have yourself a wonderful day. Over and out.